Look, the guy said he'd be back, so what exactly did you expect? Well, if you expected a ton of Easter eggs and fan service, then you were exactly right, because Terminator Dark Fate serves up plenty of both. And we're about to serve up a heaping helping of spoilers, because we just have to talk about all the inside references in the 6th Terminator film. One of the more obvious wink and nod references in Dark Fate isn't to the Terminator films at all, but rather to another fan-favorite adventure epic, the Bible. At one point, Sarah Connor sarcastically refers to herself as Mother Mary, which makes sense if you ever attended Vacation Bible School. That's because Mary is the mother of Jesus, the prophesied savior of humanity, just as Sarah herself is the mother of John Connor, another prophesied savior of humanity. Less obvious, though, is another biblical reference hidden in plain sight. The newest model of the Terminator is called Rev 9, which seems to be a reference to chapter 9 of the Book of Revelations, which describes the end of days, when the sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss, and a third of humanity is killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur. Kind of like the robot-fueled Armageddon that eventually results in the creation of Rev 9 himself. Director Tim Miller told Sci-Fi Wire that the one specific Easter egg he insisted on inserting into the film was Dwight Yoakam's hit rockabilly song, Guitars Cadillacs. The Dwight Yoakam song Guitars Cadillacs, that's my little Easter egg because, you know, that's the Terminator 2 scene that Schwarzenegger's walking into the bar and they play that. That was my big one. In Terminator Dark Fate, the song can be heard when Rev 9 falls out of the clear night sky into a random family's backyard barbecue. Talk about crashing a party. Still, while it might stink to have a killer robot wreck your barbecue, at least you've got a kickin' soundtrack to go along with it. In Dark Fate, Arnold Schwarzenegger is back, and his Terminator unit has settled down into a quiet family life, complete with the new name Carl and a day job as a draper. At one point, we see on the side of his van the company phone number, 888-512-1984, which is a reference to May 12, 1984, the day the original Terminator film hit theaters. Best of all, if you call the number, you actually get Carl's answering machine, complete with a message from Arnold himself saying "Hasta la vista." Now that's a solid Easter egg. One of the more interesting additions to the Terminator franchise is Grace, a warrior from the future who we soon learn is actually a half-human, half-robot cyborg hybrid. And maybe the most fascinating part is that the character is an oblique nod to possibly the least well-regarded film in the entire franchise, Terminator Salvation. That movie's major plot twist, of course, is the revelation that Sam Worthington's character, Marcus, is actually a half-human, half-Terminator hybrid. Of course, that entire timeline is erased from existence at the beginning of Dark Fate. Or is it? The existence of Grace opens up a lot of questions, which so far don't seem to have any clear answers. Terminator 7, anyone? If there's one film in the Terminator franchise even less highly regarded than Terminator Salvation, it's arguably Terminator 3. But even Terminator 3 gets its own homage, and during the film's climax, no less. At the end of Terminator 3, the T-850 Terminator, played once again by Schwarzenegger of course, defeats the technologically superior T-X model by removing his own power core and jamming it into the bad Terminator's head. Well, Dark Fate ends in the exact same way, this time with heroine Danny removing Grace's power core and jamming it into the Rev 9's head. Note to our future robot overlords, maybe rethink your power core design because it's not working out for you so far. The 1980s saw the rise of the movie catchphrase, and arguably none have had as much staying power as "I'll be back," which Arnie first uttered in the original Terminator film in 1984. In Terminator Dark Fate, "I'll be back" is back once again, showing up as it has in every single Terminator film, the twist being that this time, it's Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor who delivers it.
I'll be back.
That's just one of several catchphrases that get brought back, including a new version of the classic "Come with me if you want to live" line. Perhaps the most interesting Easter egg dialogue, though, comes when Grace tells Danny that if 100 police officers got in the way of the Rev 9, all that'd be left would be 100 dead cops. That's a sly reference to the infamous police station scene in Terminator, when Arnold's original model massacres an entire building full of police officers, a scene which Terminator Dark Fate later replicates in a fight at an ICE detention center on the Mexican border. Finally, there's the biggest and most subtle Easter egg of all, the entire movie. Sure, we've seen this kind of wholesale repurposing before, like the way Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens borrowed the entire structure and several key sequences from the original Star Wars.
It's another Death Star.
I wish that were the case, Major. This was the Death Star. And this is Starkiller Base.
But Terminator Dark Fate takes things to a new level, with scene after scene directly inspired by sequences from Terminator and T2. The chase scene on a Mexican freeway emulates the aqueduct chase from T2. There's a scene in which the bad guy steals a police helicopter, just like they did back in T2. There's a scene in which the good guys hide out in a seedy motel. There's a moving finale when Arnie's Terminator sacrifices itself and is just a single thumbs up short of pure homage. And there's even a playground sequence to call us back to Sarah Connor's nightmare from T2. It's actually easier to list the parts that are entirely original, such as the film's progressive choice to make a Mexican woman the savior of humanity. One thing is for sure though, there's never been a Terminator film that's as much a Terminator film as this Terminator film, and for any fan of the franchise, that's high praise indeed. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.